Most entrepreneurs are super excited about growing their business online. That is until they realize that in order to grow their business online, they need to start generating leads. And what most people do is they go straight into the cold market trying to convince and chase people who have never expressed any interest in what they have to offer, instead of figuring out how to attract the people that are already thinking about, interested, and are very close to wanting to buy the very thing you're selling. So if you have felt like you're stuck in this cycle of convincing and chasing, and it's starting to take a hit on your confidence, you're starting to feel a little rejected, and you might even be questioning if you should even pursue this business, then I have great news for you, because there is nothing wrong with you. What's wrong is you're talking to the wrong people. And in this video, I am going to share a 3-step process that helped me turn the tables around and go from someone who used to chase and convince to someone who signed up over 700 paying customers with a tiny email list without ever having to jump on the phone, convince people who weren't interested, or chasing people back and forth in the DMs who just weren't ready to buy. So before we get into the 3-step system, let's talk a little bit about the type of leads that are out there for you to introduce your business to. The first set of people are your circle of influence. There are people that already know you, they like you, they trust you, because if you haven't heard by now, people like to buy from people that they know, they like, they trust. And this is why when people go to Amazon, they check out the reviews, or when they're looking to do business with a service business, they are looking at the Google reviews, because they want to know if other people say amazing things about you, and if your products or services are good and you are trustworthy enough to do business with. Now, the circle of influence usually is like friends and family. And even though if you're, let's say, a health coach or a programmer or a fitness trainer, your family knows that this is what you do for a living. They may not want to buy from you, but they may be able to tap into other people that they do need what you offer. So you don't want to discount this group of people, even though in some circles it is frowned upon. But even when you are grand opening a brick and mortar store, they always have like a soft opening where they invite friends and family to take a look at, like, if it's a restaurant, like the food, or do a tasting. And they usually invite friends and family for these kinds of events so that they can get the feedback from people that they are already familiar with. These people aren't really targeted, but you can possibly tap into their network and they can refer people that they know, even though they themselves may not need what you have to offer. So even though your current circle of influence are considered a warm market, they're not really the most interested market. What we want to do is attract the interested people. So then the second group of people are the cold people. They're people that do not know you. They don't know of you. They don't really, like you like that. They don't trust you yet. And they haven't expressed an interest in your products and services. And this is where a lot of us end up being in the DMs, chasing and convincing, because it's like, think of it as a thermostat. A thermostat is completely blue on one side and then super red on the other side. And what you start to do is you start to convince the people that are blue and cold and freezing. They're not interested. They haven't expressed any need for your product or service, yet for some reason, that is who we continue to target, and they're just not the right person. Now, eventually, after a while, they might come around, but there's an easier person that you can target by following this 3-step process. The third type of person is an interested lead, the person that is already looking, they're already asking, they already have a problem that your product or service solves. And your job becomes intercepting them so that as they're searching for that solution, you're the guy or gal who can deliver for them. So what is the 3-step process? Well, I like to call it the story to sales framework. And it is story, system, and pre-sold prospect. If you can tell a story that your potential customer can identify themselves with and put that story, that narrative into a system that continues to work for you even when you're not online, you are going to end up with pre-sold prospects that are at the brink and almost ready to buy. And at the very least, they're super interested because you were able to communicate the problem that they were having. And through this automated system, they are going through the process, seeing how you solve the problem, and they are essentially going through a process where they sell themselves. So that by the time that you actually hear from this person, they've either already purchased or they want to know, how do I buy? Where do I sign up? What is the button I have to click on to get this thing going? So let me give you an example. Let's say that you are in the health and wellness niche and you are selling a very pricey supplement. You're not going to go out there and say, hey, check out these greens. These super greens help you lose weight. They make you feel great. They're amazing. Who do you know who wants to buy them? You don't approach it like that. What you want to do instead is, I'm looking at my notes over here, is you want to paint a picture of their frustration. You want to attract the people that can already relate to the problem. So for example, you want to say something like, if you've been trying to lose weight, but nothing seems to work, you start strong, but life gets busy. And before you know it, you're right back where you started. It can be frustrating and honestly exhausting. I know that feeling because I lived it for years. That's why I was searching for something simple that could actually work in real life. And what finally changed things for me was a daily supplement that made consistency easier, plus a supportive community that helped me stay on track. Now, you start to tell this story, and the customer is going to be able to see themselves when you start saying things like, you've started and stopped a million times. You're trying to get back on track. It's the pain that they can relate to. Instead of trying to go to random people, say, hey, I've got this incredible weight loss supplement that you are going to love. You say, have you been struggling with getting back on track? Maybe you're busy. Maybe you forget to take your supplements and you need an easier way. Now you're going to pull the people out of the woodwork that are actually interested in what you have to offer. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to automate this process because see, you can tell that story and then people are like, I want to know. And then now you are stuck in the DMs. And it's not a bad problem to have, to be honest. I mean, if people are messaging you because they're interested in your product, that's not a bad problem until it becomes a problem, until you're on your phone all the time because you don't have a system that is pre-qualifying people. Because just because you put the message out there and just because people raise their hands and get into your DMs, that doesn't mean that they're buyers. It just means that they're interested, which is why you want to take it to the next step and send them through a system. It's like making people jump through a few hoops, and the more hoops they jump through, the more serious they are. So then you send them through the system, and the cool thing about the system is you don't have to be there. All you have to do is carry on that same messaging into the system, and that way you can turn your laptop off for the day. You can go be with your family, go do your thing, and they are in the process. These people who raise their hands or they're following you because you're sharing these messages, they're going to go to your system and they're going to sort themselves out. That way you don't have to jump on the phone with everyone that hits your DMs. You don't have to get on a Zoom call with someone who is kind of interested but not really sure. Now you have a system that is going to filter them so that by the time that they do contact you, they are a pre-sold prospect. Now, if you want to grab a copy of my pre-sold prospect blueprint, you can grab a copy over at my website and you'll learn the exact 7-step system to attract pre-qualified leads so that instead of chasing people who are just not interested, you start to attract better leads, and that's just going to make your life a lot easier. So if you are stuck in chasing and convincing, listen, we all have to start somewhere, but once you know better, you can do better, and now you can turn the table around, and with the story to sales framework, you can start turning those tables around to get people to ask you more about what you have to offer. So if you want to learn more, or you want to learn how we can build a system like this for you, just head on over to my website at personalbrandforprofit.com. And I invite you to either check out our process, book a call, or if you just want to see how everything comes together and how it works, then download a copy of my pre-sold prospect blueprint. So I'm curious to hear your stories. Have you ever been ghosted in the DMs by someone who you thought for sure they were going to take the next step with you, but they didn't? If you have a story, leave it in the comments right below. I'd love to hear your experiences. So with that being said, this has been Barbie Figueroa with personalbrandforprofit.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on another video. Bye for now.